I am Research Director with ERC, specializing in discrete automation, and I'll be the moderator for this session. To begin with, let me give you a brief and overview of the topics that we will be covering today. So this session will explore how advanced technologies are reshaping the industrial landscape from AI-driven innovations and smart manufacturing practices to strategic lifecycle management of instrumentation and control systems. We have three presentations. First presentation is by Mr. Amit Singh, Senior Engineer OQ Oman. He will be presenting on strategic lifecycle management of INC systems. Next presentation is by Dr. Santosh Kumar, Senior Director, Digital KBR. He will be speaking on advanced technologies used in KBR India with a special emphasis on industrial AI. And the last presentation is by Mr. Chandrasekhar Bharati, Managing Director, ACE Mathematics. He'll be speaking on AI adoption in machinery industry. Also, before we start, a small reminder to all the delegates, please fill up the feedback forms and give it to any ARC members. So let's begin. I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Amit Singh from OQ Oman.
Okay, so good evening, dear guests as well as professional leaders here. So as already introduced, my topic is on the strategic lifecycle management of the industrial instrumentation and control systems. So basically, I would be starting with simple yet pressing observation that why we are still spending millions of dollars with a single email notification of the vendors that your system is obsolete. I'm telling this because it is quite often happen. We have a huge install base depending on the size industry. There are legacy systems installed over decades, 2-3 decades, and these are typical legacy system. Okay, the open system journey is started, but still maturity will take its own pathways. So what is happening? Mail is receiving that, hey, this XY system is obsolete, no hardware support, software support, firmware, or licenses is expiring, no service support, etc., etc. What is happening? A system change worth millions of dollars triggers, not by failure of system, plant is operating. There is no evaluation of the risk. There is an email notification. And such kind of things is making a lot of burden, especially while the asset size is increasing, and it is time to demand really think how to tackle these situations. In OQ or in any oil and gas facility particularly, instrumentation and control system is the heart of the process safety, operability, and reliability. Yet, the life cycle management often remains overlooked. And this situation leads to asset remains on risk in terms of fragmented, or you can say ad hoc upgrades, and unmanaged obsolescence life cycle. So while moving, this is the agenda we will be going through. So I will be showing some few statistics across OQ, which will give some glimpse, and then we will go ahead. Of course, there is a IEC 62890, which is giving some specific guidelines for product developer, for system integrator, as well as for end users, but my focus would be more on the end user part. And of course, the challenges in OQ, our initiatives, some key takeaways we will be discussing. This is some of the statistics, particularly for our downstream assets. You can see that in last 1 decade, 53 business cases worth 50 millions trigger of the upgrades and obsolescence. 25 business cases in other downstream, like refining and petrochemical, and then we have specialty chemical and many other downstream units. 25 business cases, 10 millions. This is just the data of the just 1 decade I'm showing, and this data is particularly more on the system part, control system. If we go for the individual instrumentation, fire and gas and other things, maybe the numbers will increase slightly. Again, this data is particular, specific to our asset, but it may drastically vary depending on the size of asset. If some assets are even further use-based, it can vary drastically, but it is just giving an idea that based on our own size, what is happening. Coming to the next, this is one of our most recent assets, the Liva Plastics Industries Complex, which has been commissioned in 2020, and we are just 5 years ahead. What has happened? In these 5 years, 25 million obsolescence notifications has been triggered. Okay, it is on different phases. We have MOC system, we have in different phases, but the trigger I'm talking what is happening. Here just I would like to emphasize that there is terminology total cost of ownership, and which is the initial acquisition cost, as well as the further life cycle operating and maintenance cost. Both includes what is the total cost of ownership, of course. There is a standard way, what is the acquisition cost and how it goes for the rest of the life cycle. Depending on the organization maturity, there are organizations who focus while the projects are coming and they think those life cycle, those foresight well in advance. Then there is a trade-off that slightly increase the initial acquisition cost, and we can optimize the rest of the operating and maintainability cost. But typically, while the project is EPC is another stakeholder, their key focus, of course, how they can optimize acquisition cost. They don't care what is the operating and maintainability cost. And if it is a typical EPC contract, this is where we end up. But whatever it is, whether we are in either of the things, we have to manage the life cycle. We cannot remains unmanaged. Otherwise, across the globe, I think tomorrow there is a dedicated session. Now it is a burning issue, how to tackle such a huge impact. This is a typical life cycle of the, which is defined by IEC 62890. As I said that it is a complete starting from the development up to obsolescence cycle. So our focus is to discuss, of course, the after sales support and obsolescence, how we can optimize this obsolescence. IEC 62890 has defined 4 specific strategies, which is LSRM, that is last time buy, substitution, redesign, and migration. These are the typical strategies. And these are on the scale of course, the compatibility, reaction time, sustainability, etc. Risk, innovation. Very common is last time buy-in. Everyone usually thinks, okay, if on-time communication happen from these legacy vendors, because it also depends maturity of the organization and maturity of the vendors, how the communication is happening, how the collaboration is happening. If it is in the good shape, then yes, the last time buy-in strategy works well, and you can secure another 3-4 years, whatever things. Substitution is another good strategy, not very intensive effort, but being the legacy system, any vendor, there is again limitations. Whether you can have substitution openly or again you have a lot of limitation. So this is another. The organization who are aggressive in the technology adoption and technology exploitation, they may go for the redesign and migration. But as I said, It all depends on the organizational maturity. If you talk to regarding X organization, Y organization, it cannot be apple to apple. So the strategy has to be also unique. There is no single bullet for everyone. So coming to the elements of the proactive life cycle, there are three key stakeholders: the user who is deploying these systems, end user, plant user, system integrators, and the component suppliers. These are the three key elements, and without collaboration of all three, the effective life cycle management is really not possible in a way. So there is two key things. One is the strategic planning, and another is the collaborative efforts. Strategic planning is very much dependent on the organization thinking, organization way of doing the operations. There are organizations who are happy to just run the asset at almost 100% and keep running, and they are happy. But there are organizations who are not satisfied even with this capacity. They wanted to reach 110, 115, 120. They wanted to excel and reach up to optimal design. So for them, the strategy would be different. So they think differently. They don't care how much investment goes in fully revamp the system and throw out and adopt new things. And so this is the reason it is important, and it is important to realize where particular end user organization stands. How is the asset and how is the thought process of the stakeholders, our own, the organization stakeholders and expectations. Then collaboration, as we discussed, in collaboration, it is important the maturity of end user organization as well as maturity of the vendor. If you look today's scenario, even a lot of standard, particularly if you look IEC 62443, they are coming a specific part which is defining what is the maturity level of system integrator, what is the maturity level of particular vendor, component supplier. And good thing is organizations have started mapping those kind of vendors profile. They have started looking into it. So once you know the vendor profiling, you can build it accordingly to those vendors, because each vendor is not exactly also on the same span. So these are the way, and these are the two key things which should be formulated well if we have to manage effectively the life cycle. Of course, while it comes to the excellence, first we have to initiate, and then to reach the excellence, there are four key pillars. Application, of course, the economic viability is important. Everybody is doing business for profit, not to just remain in negatives. So have to think what solution is getting. It is not like we just wanted to follow the technology, new technology, and then at the end result of the net profit is still we are not able to come up. Whether we follow AI, whether we follow whatever digitalization, but at the end, we have to gain what is the ultimate business objective. So we have to be economically viable. Ecological, basically in today's scenario, the regulatory compliance is really pushing a lot, be it environmental factor, net zero carbon, renewable energy, a lot of things are pushing in parallel. Along with that, because digitalization is taking new highs, AIs are happening, ultimately it is a fact that we are connecting more and more. While we are connecting more and more on the alongside, and risks are increasing, so we have to adopt the regulatory compliances to sustain in long term. Otherwise, it is a not sustainable model. So this is about excellence. We have to really adopt pillars in well manner. Then coming to the existing challenges, this particularly in context to OQ, maybe the other organization might have some different way, but one of the key challenges with our asset, because we have huge asset base of the downstreams, and almost each vendors are there. We have in one of the refineries fully Yokogawa, then we have a Schneider Electric, we have a Honeywell base, we have all the PLCs, so nobody is remaining, everybody is there. So you can imagine that if we have to follow each and everybody's obsolescence to manage everyone's things, so how challenging it is to manage such a huge base every year, every quarter, month there are. So this is one of the key challenge. As I say, the regulatory compliances are increasing and each particular organization, particularly on the risk profile, be it safety or security, each are taking new highs. Whatever management of change we are receiving for the upgrades, in parallel, not less than that, we are receiving for the security. How is the security of our asset being in oil and gas and, of course, being in GCC. So the regulatory compliance as well as the insurance, they are also asking a lot of things, a lot of compliances issues. Obsolescence and end of the life notification, already we have discussed on it. So then, of course, we have to maintain the balance because whatever we are doing the business, we are making the profit, we have to see how in optimal manner we can operate. We cannot just keep doing all these things. We have to have the business sustainable. So in that terms, of course, skill and competency, I think a lot of presentation it is talked about. The way technology is changing, the way thought process is changing. Even the stakeholders are our own business owners, expectations are changing. We have to also match the skill gaps. And that has to be aligned along with our turnaround, outage planning as well. We cannot stop the things and just do all these things. Vendor lock-in is the global issue. And I think tomorrow there is a fantastic sessions on OPAS. There are Namur, open architecture, a lot of things are going. I was in the outside stall and I think the 2-3 stalls I was discussing, so it is initiated. So it means, initiated means it will take also the maturity pathways. In OQ, we have taken certain initiative, also considering the 62890, IEC 62890 in our roadmap. And one of the key initiatives is the asset inventory. Asset inventory is not only important for the security, but knowing our own asset where we stand in terms of systems, in terms of hardware, in terms of digital assets, softwares, firmwares. We are tightly doing it and we are started mapping all these things. So we know before vendor to come, first we have to know really where we are standing. Then inclusion of regulatory compliances. So I would say that any management of change, of obsolescence or upgrade, we are integrating the security along the way. This is one of our organizational top priority, or you can say strategic priority. So along whatever next cycle is coming, we are taking it upfront. And then initiation of course, there is a standard annual maintenance contract, how we can optimize it to make it longer with the special agreement, with special support. So we are also working on those front instead of just keeping a simple AMCs. So a lot of variables are there, a lot of parameters, and we are on that roadmap. Then, as I say, the mapping. If we know our asset, if we know each and every aspect, then we can map and we can know how to handle what. What is the risk with, even though vendor is telling, but then what is the risk we need to understand. Okay, obsolete, it happens, but that obsolescence is creating what kind of risk? Sometimes run to fail, or there is a risk to safety, risk to security. So all those parameters, mapping, we have started. Then skill and competency, there is a lot of initiatives in terms of in-house training, outside training, vendors engagement, a lot of things are happening on these things, and these initiatives has been taken. So in nutshell, for maintaining the obsolescence and life cycle, of course, there is a good standard, IEC 62890. And we, based on, depending on the organizational maturity, we can make a hybrid plan. Even if we have 10 assets, not one strategy can work for everything, and so we can make a hybrid strategy. Then we can have a special services contract with intensive discussions, alignments, etc. And it could be phased manner. Nothing can be done at one go, everything. So depending on the type, risk, etc., we can plan it, we can schedule it, something we can align along with our TS schedule, turnaround schedule, something we can do in between opportunities, so that has to be done. And then this is all about we can do and we are doing. And I think this is the end of the presentation. And